My name is Warren Burggren, and I'm the Provost and Vice President for Academic Affairs here at the University of North Texas. And I really am kind of distressed at having to break up this conversation because the energy in this room really is palpable. We're glad to have you here. I know some of you have traveled internationally, but I'm also equally glad to see many of my colleagues from the University of North Texas here in the audience as well. I do hope, having mentioned my colleagues, that this sounds like one of those conferences in which you go there and you're inside all day, you're whisked transportation-wise from one place to another, but we do hope that you can get a chance to get out and see a bit of the University of North Texas campus. And if you have, or if you're sitting at a table with someone who's identified themselves, proudly I'm sure, as a UNT member, faculty member, staff member, you might just ask them to take you out and walk you around a little bit if there's a spare moment. The title of this overall project is a really interesting one to me. And when Rick Nader, our Vice Provost for International Affairs, first talked to me about it, it sounded like it would be a really interesting idea to get together you folks, those who have money and want to see it spent well, and those who need money and will assure that they will spend it well. But what has really delighted me as I've picked up on some of the conversation from this morning is that, in a sense, it's risen to, shall we say, a more noble level. It's talking about aspects of internationalization, of globalization. It's talking about getting interesting projects done, and it's focused less on the mechanics of the transfer of the resources to do it and more on the good that will come from it. Kind of a means versus end approach. Now, I understand from the program that you'll get down to brass tacks a little more in the afternoon in terms of some of the opportunities that there are for funding, but I'm really appreciative at the level of the discussion that's going on. I think we'll see this high-level discussion continued with the forum that we have, the fireside chat, if you like, that we have planned for the luncheon here. I'd like to introduce the two participants, going in alphabetical order. Donald Dingwell. Donald, if you could, thank you. Donald is Secretary General of the European Research Council. Thank you for traveling and being here. He has close to 30 years of experience in academia and global research, and I find impressive that he's taught in 5 universities in 3 countries and 2 languages. And if you want to add another one, we can talk later about the University of North Texas. He served as Secretary General since September of 2011, just probably long enough for the honeymoon to be over and really start to be able to dig into the actual achievements of the job. He previously was a Carnegie Research Fellow at the Geophysical Lab at the Carnegie Institution in Washington. He did that job for 2 years, and a professor for a year at the University of Toronto. He was then appointed as the assistant to the director of the Bavarian Geo Institute in Germany. In 2000, he became chair of the Department of Mineralogy and Petrology at Ludwig Maximilian University in Munich. And he has had a career-long interest and activity in the proliferation and support of science and science awareness at the national and international level. So help me welcome him, please.
Yep. Okay.
We're also fortunate to have David Stoner here, who is the Deputy Director of the Office of International and Integrative Affairs, National Science Foundation. And I had the great pleasure and opportunity of meeting David just a few short weeks ago and was really impressed with the scope of his activities. He has previously served as Executive Officer and Head of the Office of International Science and Engineering. From 2007 to 2011, he was head of the NSF Europe office in Paris. Not a bad draw, actually. He also was the head of the Congressional Affairs section at NSF for 7 years and served in the NSF Office of Legislative and Public Affairs. Before coming to the National Science Foundation, he served as a congressional staffer and was honored by being named an American Association for the Advancement of Science Congressional Science Fellow in 1982. He was a program officer in the Psychological Sciences Division at the Office of Naval Research and assistant professor at Oakland University, and has taught at the George Washington University. So please help me welcome David. Now, the two have been caucused together this morning, and I think they've figured out what they're going to be doing, so I'm simply going to say that it looks like it'll be a stimulating conversation, and I'm sure that they will at some point be very interested in entertaining your questions. So again, thank you for being here. Let's welcome our speakers.